about two artists, Tyler Thrasher, who is a multimedia kind of transgenic artist from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oleg Vodenko, who is a digitally based artist from Tula, Russia. These two have distinctly different presences online, and the only real way to compare them in terms of digital presence is to put them at complete ends of the spectrum. So I'm going to start with Tyler, who is his practice kind of circulates around growth and biology, and he creates these kind of crystallized objects through taking what he calls dead shit, and he uses these kinds of colloquial terms in order to garner like a sense of interest and excitement about works that are technically very scientific and chemically based, but they become interesting for anyone to look at. He makes also these illustrations, which he has for sale, of things that he grows. So not only does he work with dead matter, he also is a very enthusiastic botanist. He grows so many things in his garden. He sends out little propagation sets to children and that kind of thing, and he runs workshops on how to grow certain plants and how to take care of your plants. In fact, one of his most infamous media stunts, I guess, was to ask all of his fans and followers to send him pictures of their plants so that he could roast them. And I think he did that for about a day. Anyway, so because he's so much very into expanding interests and seeding intrigue and nature in the world, he has a podcast. He's also put out a book called Grow a Dam, which is a plant journal, and it was funded on Kickstarter, and this Grow a Dam, as you can see on the page right here, book is really just a fill it yourself, do it yourself journal. He's also an avid activist. These t-shirts and this pin were sold on his websites to donate money towards ending food insecurity in Tulsa, sending legal fees and financings for protesters in Portland for the Black Lives Matter movement. Much of this money also goes towards funding nature education for kids. So he will actually make nature kits and propagation kits to send out for children in the Northwest and mostly Oklahoma area. On his Instagram page, he posts these videos of him kind of excitedly exclaiming about nature and science and crystallization, opalization, decayed matter, and growing plants and that kind of thing. And in the bottom right-hand corner here is the Adventure Kit, which is a project he's working with Tulsa Stem Cell Research to create for kids in need of expanding their world in terms of nature and things like that. On his website, the first, or I guess the second header after the about, is experiments rather than work, which really tells us about how much he is more interested in the experimentation process. And most of his work really can be split into those three categories in terms of his art practice. However, his work expands out into all these other things like illustration, plant work, photography, podcast music, and of course making things to sell in a store. So we know so much about Tyler through his social media and through his work. We know that he's got a wife and kids that he takes on hikes, and that kind of fuels his interest in spreading and seeding knowledge for nature for other people on the internet and other kids in the area. What we don't know a lot about is the next artist I'm talking about is Olive Vodenko. So this might be purely because of how elusive he is in terms of posting things and how vague his titles tend to be. This may be because of this language barrier, because he lives in Russia, he speaks Russian, he doesn't speak English. But many of the times his works and paintings will make it onto viral pages and listings and kind of appear as if they were realistic scenarios or real cases of violence or hauntings. And on his YouTube page, you can see all these videos, and there's often very little or no description, and they're all kind of titled in a way that is very ambiguous and just very creepy. It seems that the less we know about this person, the more intrigue kind of comes into who he is, who he looks like. There are no pictures of him online. We don't know anything about him really, other than his name and his kind of creepy casting worlds. He's actually worked on a few video games, and a lot of his 3D testing modeling things have made its rounds on lots of social media pages. He also lends out a lot of these models and texture packs online by selling them or just having them up for free examples. So the point I'm trying to make in comparing these two artists and their practices online and digital presences is about really how we can use how giving or closed we are in terms of our personal lives and our identities as artists to create either intrigue or really openness towards our work. As Tyler's work is much more based around being an approachable and educating presence, Oleg Vodenko seems to thrive on the cryptic and the unknown and the ambiguous.